you doing this?
Well, yeah, the same thing now.
You need to listen to me now. I am not gonna let you get away with this. I am not moving.
Moving.
When a 70-year-old black woman, Evelyn Carter, is brutally attacked over a parking spot by two racist men, no one knows she is a retired teacher and a karate black belt whose strength is matched only by her courage. As police twist the truth and silence witnesses, Evelyn's painful memories of past injustices resurface. But when a bystander's video goes viral, the world sees the brutality for what it is, sparking protests, investigations, and cracks in the blue wall of silence until the system itself is forced to reckon with its corruption. Through trials, betrayal, and resistance, Evelyn stands unbowed, and in the end, poetic justice ensures that the chains of oppression break while the truth rises like fire, leaving her not as a victim, but as a living symbol of resilience and hope. The morning sun spilled gold across the cracked asphalt of Jefferson Market's parking lot. Evelyn Carter, 68 years old, eased her silver sedan into the lot with the patience of someone who had lived long enough to know the world was always in a hurry. Her hands rested lightly on the steering wheel, knuckles stiff with age but steady. She hummed a church hymn under her breath, the kind her mother used to sing while stirring pots of collard greens. Behind her, a black pickup truck rumbled louder than necessary. Two men inside leaned forward aggressively. She could see them in her rearview mirror, strong, restless, like wolves circling prey. "Come on, old lady, move it," one of them shouted, his voice muffled by glass, but clear in tone. Evelyn didn't flinch. She spotted an empty space ahead, near the store's entrance, and signaled with calm precision. She slowed to make her turn. The truck suddenly swerved, tires screeching, trying to cut her off. Evelyn braked gently, her lips pressing into a thin line. The men laughed inside, their mouths wide, faces flushed with amusement. She pulled in carefully, straightened the car, and switched off the engine. The truck halted directly behind her, blocking her in. Doors slammed, heavy boots struck the pavement. Evelyn exhaled slowly, gathering her handbag. She had faced storms before. "Hey!" One of the men barked as he approached. He was broad, maybe mid-30s, with a sunburnt neck and ball cap pulled low. "That was our damn spot." Evelyn rose from the car, her back straight despite the years weighing on her spine. Her voice came soft but steady. "Sir, the spot was open. I used my signal. You saw it." The second man, younger, with tattoos curling up his forearms, smirked. "Ain't no one care about your signal," Grandma laughed. A small crowd of Saturday shoppers lingered at a distance, pretending to fuss with grocery bags, their eyes darting toward the scene but quickly away again. Silence hung heavier than the men's insults. "You people," the first man muttered, voice dropping venom, "always think the rules don't apply to you." Evelyn's jaw tightened. She looked at him with calm eyes, but her silence felt sharper than words. "What, cat got your tongue?" The younger one sneered, stepping closer. He leaned into her space, the stink of cheap beer lingering on his breath. "Better move your car before something happens." "Leave me be," Evelyn said evenly. The younger man chuckled and shoved her grocery cart aside. It rattled into another car with a metallic scrape. Gasps fluttered from the bystanders. Still, no one moved. No one helped. "You deaf old lady," he barked, thrusting a finger in her face. "We said move it." Evelyn adjusted her handbag strap over her shoulder. Her stillness was unnerving, a storm gathering in silence. "You don't scare me," she said quietly, almost to herself. The men laughed louder, mocking, their voices filling the lot. "Don't scare her, ha. Look at her hands shaking." One jeered, but Evelyn's hands were not shaking. They were steady, coiled, remembering. The shove came sudden, a palm to her shoulder, rough and dismissive. Her foot slid half an inch across the asphalt. She did not stumble. She did not retreat, just she simply lifted her chin. Her eyes calm pools hiding decades of fire. The crowd hushed, and Evelyn Carter, 70 years of storms behind her, whispered to herself, "Not today." The parking lot felt like a stage, every sound amplified, the idle hum of engines, the click of grocery carts, the distant buzz of a neon sign. But Evelyn Carter wasn't focused on any of it. She was inside herself now, pulled backward in time. The shove on her shoulder was not just a shove, it was a doorway. Suddenly, she was 12 years old again, walking home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, in 1969. A group of boys, white, older, Bigger heads surrounded her then too. They had jeered, spat, and one had pushed her to the dirt. "Stay down, girl," one had said, smirking. "Don't forget where you belong." She had clenched her fists back then, but her father's voice rang in her ears. "Baby, strength isn't in swinging wild. It's in standing when they want you to kneel." That night, she'd told him she wanted to learn how to fight, not just fists in fury, she wanted discipline. He had smiled, weary but proud, and signed her up at a small karate dojo run by a Japanese-American veteran. "Focus, Evelyn," her instructor had said years later when she was 16. "Breathe in fear, breathe out power. Never fight for anger, fight for balance." She remembered the sweat on her brow, the ache in her legs, the sting of failure when she fell, but she had stood up each time, bowing with respect, refusing to quit. By 20, Evelyn had earned her black belt, and with it came not pride, but calm. She had carried that calm into every part of her life, into classrooms where she taught history to restless students, into marches where police dogs snarled at the crowd, into hospitals where she sat at her husband's bedside as cancer stole him away. Calm was her shield. But calm didn't mean weak. Her mind snapped back to the present, the younger man still grinning, swaggering. "You gonna move that car or you want me to move you?" he taunted. Evelyn's lips pressed tight. The crowd around them wasn't blind. They saw the menace in his eyes, the mocking in his tone, yet no one stepped forward. Fear clung to them, heavy and suffocating. Phones were out, though always phones. Little glowing rectangles capturing injustice but rarely stopping it. The older man spat at the side. "I told you, lady, you don't belong here. You should have just kept driving." Belong. That word, Evelyn's pulse slowed instead of quickening. She had been told that her whole life, at water fountains, at libraries, at voting booths, at the bank when she applied for her first loan. "You don't belong." And now here, over a damn parking spot, a whisper slipped from her lips, too soft for them to hear. Not today, but she heard it. She felt it. Her father's voice echoed inside, steady as always. "One day they'll push too far, and you'll have to show them who you are." "Look at her." The younger man laughed. "She's shaking." He was wrong. Evelyn's stillness was not fear, it was coiled strength. Her feet adjusted slightly on the asphalt, weight evenly balanced. She could hear her instructor's voice even now. "Every stance is a promise. Every promise is a shield." She let him talk, let the venom spill, because words had no power over her anymore. The real power was waiting. "Hey, Grandma," the younger one sneered, circling her like a predator. "How about we teach you some respect?" The older man cracked his knuckles, stepping closer. "Yeah, time somebody put you in your place." Evelyn's eyes lifted, calm and piercing. For just a second, the younger man hesitated. Something in her gaze unnerved him, but his pride shoved him forward. He lunged, and Evelyn's mind didn't scream, didn't panic. It cleared. Her body remembered what her mind had practiced for decades. "Not today." She whispered again, stronger this time. The storm inside her was no longer memory. It was alive. Her stance shifted, her shoulders squared. The parking lot faded into silence as her breath steadied. The men didn't notice it. Not yet, but the crowd did. Gasps fluttered as someone murmured, She's not scared." And they were right. Evelyn Carter, child of the segregated South, widow, teacher, fighter, survivor, was done being pushed. The shove had opened the door. Now, the first strike was coming. The air in the parking lot shifted. The younger man's hand shot forward, slapping Evelyn's cart so hard it rattled across the asphalt and smashed against the bumper of a nearby car. The clang echoed like a warning bell. "Oops," he laughed. "Guess I got clumsy." Gasps rose from the bystanders, some lifting phones higher, others backing away. Yet still, no one stepped between them. Evelyn's eyes followed the cart, then returned calmly to his face. "You should stop now," she said softly. The older man snorted. "Stop, lady. You better start praying. You don't know who you're dealing with." The younger one leaned in, inches from her. "Move the car, Grandma, or we'll move you." And then he shoved her shoulder harder this time, testing her balance. Her body reacted before her mind did. Decades of muscle memory, discipline etched into bone. Her left hand caught his wrist mid-push, her right arm hooking around his elbow, with a fluid pivot of her hips. Evelyn redirected his weight. The man's cocky grin vanished as his body lifted off the ground. In one swift motion, he was flat on his back, slamming onto the asphalt with a thud that silenced the parking lot. Phones tilted downward to capture it. Gasps turned into shouts. What the hell? The older man barked. The younger man groaned. Wind knocked out of him, face red with shock. She threw me. The old hag threw me. Evelyn stood over him, shoulders relaxed, her breath steady. I warned you. The older man's fury ignited. He stomped forward, veins bulging in his neck. You think this is funny? Evelyn didn't answer. Think you can embarrass us? He lunged. She stepped sideways with calm precision. His momentum carried him forward, straight into the side of his own truck. His shoulder collided with the metal, the impact ringing through the lot. The crowd erupted in noise shouts, cheers, disbelief. Did you see that? Someone yelled. She took him down. Oh my God, she's a damn ninja. But Evelyn wasn't smiling. She wasn't gloating. Her stance remained grounded, defensive, not aggressive. Enough, she said firmly. I don't want to hurt you. Leave me alone. The younger one staggered to his feet, face twisted with humiliation. You, he spat, pointing at her with trembling hands. You don't touch me. You don't touch me. You hear? His friend nursed his shoulder, eyes dark with rage. She's gonna pay. Nobody makes fools of us. They looked around at the gathering circle of witnesses, dozens of phones recording every second. But instead of shame, they fed on the attention, puffing their chests like cornered animals. The younger one yelled, You think this old witch just attacked us? You all saw it. Murmurs rippled contradictions, disbelief. Some defended Evelyn, others stayed silent. A woman's voice broke through. She didn't attack you. You shelved her first. The men ignored it, growing louder, angrier, more desperate. Then came the sound that shifted the air again, distant sirens. The older man's lips curled into a smile. Oh, you're done now. The cops'll deal with you. Evelyn didn't move, her hands lowered gently to her sides, body easing out of its stance. Though her eyes never left them, the crowd, sensing the storm wasn't over, tightened around the scene but kept a wary distance. The younger one leaned close again, voice dripping with venom. You hear that, Grandma? Those sirens? That's your life ending. Black or not, woman or not, you just assaulted two white men. They'll lock you up and throw away the key. He expected fear, but Evelyn only tilted her head, eyes sharp and unshaken. I defended myself, and everyone here knows it. The crowd murmured louder, phones still raised like shields against lies. The sirens grew closer. Red and blue lights flickered at the edge of the lot. Evelyn exhaled deeply, almost prayer-like. For a moment, she wasn't standing in a parking lot, but back in her dough, kneeling on the mat, listening to her instructor's final words before she earned her belt. Victory is not in defeating your enemy. Victory is in refusing to surrender your dignity. The younger man cursed under his breath, clutching his bruised back. The older one rolled his shoulder, glaring at her as if she had stolen something precious, his pride, his power. You're gonna regret this. Which? He hissed. Evelyn didn't answer. She didn't need to, because the truth was already circling her, captured in every phone, reflected in every stunned face. The police cars screeched into the lot, tires screeching, officers jumped out, hands already near their holsters, and Evelyn Carter stood in the middle of it all, unbroken, ready. The storm had only begun. Red and blue lights splashed across the pavement, staining faces with the harsh glow of authority. The crowd shifted uneasily, phones still raised but lowered just enough to avoid notice. For officers strode forward, hands resting casually on holsters, eyes sweeping the lot. One, stocky with a trimmed beard, barked, Everybody back up now. The two white men sprang into their roles like actors who'd rehearsed. The older one clutched his shoulder dramatically, wincing. Officer, thank God you're here. This woman, she attacked us out of nowhere. The younger one limped, holding his back. She's crazy. She slammed me on the ground. We didn't do nothing. Their voices dripped with practiced innocence. Evelyn stood silently between them, her posture straight, her face calm. An officer, Lieutenant Marks, his badge gleaming, looked her up and down with a sneer that pretended to be curiosity. Ma'am, is that true? You assaulted these men? Before Evelyn could open her mouth, the younger man cut in. She just snapped. We were walking to our truck, and she jumped us, for no reason. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A woman near the front called out, That's a lie. I saw him shove her first. Yeah. Another voice shouted. She was just defending herself. Phones tilted higher, evidence glowing in shaky hands. Mark's eyes narrowed not at the men, not at the bystanders, but at Evelyn. Turn around, ma'am. Hands behind your back. Gasps burst from the crowd. What? The young woman filming yelled. You're arresting her. She's the victim. Someone else cried. Marks didn't flinch. This is procedure. Turn around, ma'am. Evelyn's voice, steady but firm, broke the tension. Officer, I was attacked. The cameras here will show it. So will these witnesses. The younger cop beside Marks snorted. Oh, witnesses. Yeah, right. People love to twist stories when they see a little action. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but her eyes never left Marks. You're ignoring the truth. Marks smirked faintly. No, ma'am. I'm maintaining order. Now, unless you want more charges, turn around. Phones buzzed. The young woman filming shouted, I've got it all on camera. Every word, every shove, every slur they threw at her. One officer turned, stepping toward her. Put the phone away, Miss Snow. She snapped, I have a right to film this. The officer's hand brushed his cuffs. Do you want to spend the night in a cell? Fear flashed across her face, but she stood her ground. This is wrong. You can't just. Evelyn caught her eyes and gave a slight shake of her head. Calm, quiet strength. A silent plea not to put herself in danger. The young woman's lips trembled, but she didn't lower her phone. Cold steel kissed Evelyn's wrists. The click of the cuffs echoed like a gavel striking. A man in the crowd muttered, This is messed up. Another whispered, Don't get involved. Just stay out of it. Silence swallowed their courage. The older attacker clutched his shoulder dramatically, stepping closer. You did the right thing, officer. People like her, they think they can get away with anything these days. Laughter from his friend, cruel and triumphant. Evelyn's breath steadied. She kept her eyes forward as Marks steered her toward the squad car. As the door opened, Evelyn spoke, her voice quiet but sharp enough to cut. Do you know what you're doing? You're protecting liars. You're protecting hate. Marks shoved her down into the back seat. Save the speeches for the judge. The door slammed, locking her into the cage of flashing lights. Through the window, she saw the crowd fracturing, half angry, half silent, all powerless. Phones still recording, but feet refusing to move closer. The younger man leaned against the truck, smirking directly at her. He mouthed the words, You lose, inside the squad car. Evelyn exhaled slowly, steadying her hands in the cuffs. She had been here before. Maybe not in steel, but in spirit. She remembered the marches of the 70s, police lines blocking roads, batons raised against unarmed voices. She remembered teaching her students about injustice, telling them history was not past, it was present. And here it was again, wrapped in sirens and badges. Her father's voice rose in her mind. Baby, the system will try to break you, but don't let them. Hold your head up, even when they put chains on your wrists. She lifted her chin. The young woman filming shouted, after the squad car as it pulled away, We've got your back. We're not gonna let them bury this. Her words faded as distance swallowed them. Evelyn sat in silence, wrists burning against the cuffs. The officers in the front chatted casually, their laughter slicing through her stillness. Can you believe that? The younger cop said. An old lady body slamming two grown men. Guess they don't make M like they used to. Marks chuckled. Don't matter. DA's gonna love this one. We'll make an example of her. Teach folks to respect the law. Evelyn's eyes closed. Not in defeat. In focus. Because she knew something they didn't. Truth has a way of breaking walls, and this blue wall would not stand forever. The holding cell smelled of bleach and despair. Concrete walls, pale green paint peeling at the edges, seemed to swallow every sound. Evelyn sat on the cold bench, wrists raw from the cuffs that had only just been removed. Across from her, a young Latino man leaned against the wall, one eye swollen shut, his hoodie stained with dried blood. Next to him, a homeless black woman with weathered skin rocked gently, humming to herself. Their silence was heavy, yet familiar. Different stories, same cage. The young man broke it first. What they get you for, Grandma? Evelyn lifted her eyes, calm but sharp. Defending myself. He chuckled bitterly. Yeah, that'll do it. The homeless woman's humming faltered. She muttered, voice raspy. They don't like us fighting back. Don't matter if it's a word, a hand, or just your eyes. You look at Emrong, they'll put you in here. Evelyn studied her, then nodded. I've known that truth a long time. The young man rubbed his wrists, raw like hers. I was walking home from work. Cop said I fit the description. Guess my face is a crime. He laughed without joy. You'd think after all these years, they'd come up with a new excuse. The homeless woman snorted. Don't need new ones. Old ones still work. Their words wove together like threads in a quilt of injustice. stitch a wound. Evelyn listened, her breath steady, but her chest ached with the weight of their stories. Finally, she spoke. My father used to tell me, strength isn't in your fists, it's in standing tall when they want you bowed. The young man tilted his head. And you believe that? Evelyn's lips curved faintly. I lived it. Memories flickered marches down dusty streets, hand in hand with neighbors chanting freedom songs, the sting of tear gas burning her lungs, nights spent in church basements planning protests, whispering strategy while sirens circled outside. She remembered standing in front of her classroom decades later, teaching students about Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, Malcolm and Martin, not as statues of history, but as reminders of resilience. I taught children for 30 years, she said softly. Told them the system would try to silence their voices, but silence is what keeps chains locked. The homeless woman whispered, chains don't ever break. Evelyn turned to her, eyes steady. They do, but not by themselves. The cell door creaked open. A uniformed officer stepped inside, swagger heavy in his stride. He was tall, smirking like he'd already won. Well, he drawled. The karate grandma, you made quite a scene today. The young man muttered under his breath. Here we go. The officer leaned close to Evelyn. DA's gonna eat this up. 2 respectable men beaten down by you. Oh, he'll make an example out of you. All right, might even get a headline out of it. Elderly woman loses it in parking lot brawl. Sounds about right, doesn't it? Evelyn didn't blink. Respectable men don't shove women half their age, or spit slurs. The officer's smile tightened. Careful, you keep that attitude, and you'll be in here longer than you think. The young man stepped forward, fists clenched. Leave her alone, man. The officer turned, eyes flashing. Sit down before I give you something to really complain about. The homeless woman shrank back into her corner, humming again, soft and broken. Evelyn raised her hand gently, calming the young man with nothing more than her presence. Don't, she whispered. Not like this. Her gaze locked on the officer again. You think power makes you untouchable, but power shifts. Truth has a way of leaking through cracks. The officer scoffed, backing toward the door. Truth won't save you, not in this town. The metal door clanged shut. The silence afterward was thick, heavy with the taste of his words. The young man dropped onto the bench, shaking his head. They don't care. None of them. They'll just spin the story till people believe what they want. Evelyn's voice was quiet, but it cut through his despair. Maybe, but stories don't stay buried forever. Someone out there is listening. Someone always is. He looked at her skeptically. You really believe that? Evelyn leaned back against the wall, closing her eyes. I have to, or else the chains win. She steadied her breathing, counting each inhale and exhale, just as she had in the dojo years ago. Not meditation for escape but for readiness. Her father's words hummed inside her, strong as ever. Don't let them break you, even when they think they've already won. And though the cell was cold, though her wrists throbbed, Evelyn Carter sat tall, because she knew something the officer did not. The world outside was watching, and truth was already stirring. Morning sunlight spilled through the blinds of living rooms, cafes, and office break rooms across the city. Phones buzzed with notifications. Screens lit up with the same headline. Elderly woman brutally attacked over parking, spot fights back. The video, shaky and grainy, had been captured on a bystander's phone. It opened with the 2 men shoving Evelyn, their voices sharp with insults. One word rang clear despite the static. Monkey. Gasps filled living rooms everywhere as the slur replayed in comment threads. But the clip didn't stop there. It showed Evelyn bracing herself, her body settling into a practiced stance, movements precise and powerful. One man lunged, she sidestepped, redirected, dropped him with a strike that looked impossibly swift. The second swung wildly, she blocked, countered, and sent him stumbling to the asphalt. The crowd in the video gasped. Someone shouted, "Damn, she's a black belt." By mid-morning, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube boiled with reactions. Respect Grandma Evelyn, protect her at all costs. So they thought they could jump an old black woman. Wrong one. Cops better not sweep this under the rug. System always flips the story. We got the receipts now. Evelyn's name trended within hours. Hashtags multiplying like wildfire. Hashtag justice for Evelyn. Hashtag karate grandma. Hashtag blue wall inside the precinct. The atmosphere shifted like a storm front rolling in. Officers huddled around their phones, whispering. The chief barked orders in clipped tones, but the unease was palpable. What had seemed like an easy case, a woman painted as the aggressor, was unraveling in real time. Detective Harris strode down the hall, jaw tight, phone vibrating nonstop. His partner muttered, "They're calling her a hero online." Whole narratives flipped. Harris hissed, "We control the report, not Twitter. Don't forget that." But even he knew the tide was slipping from their hands. Meanwhile, Evelyn sat in the cell, unaware of the storm raging outside. She leaned against the wall, steady, conserving her strength. The young man beside her tapped the bars. "They're talking about you out there." Evelyn opened one eye. "What do you mean?" He grinned, despite his bruised lip. "Videos online, you're trending." The homeless woman chuckled softly, a dry, broken laugh. "They always film, rarely saves us. But maybe this time." Evelyn's brow furrowed. "Trending?" The young man nodded eagerly. "Like, the whole city knows your name now. They saw what happened. They saw everything." For the first time since her arrest, Evelyn's lips curved into a small, cautious smile. Across town, in a cramped apartment, a teenage girl scrolled furiously on her cracked phone. "That's Miss Carter," she shouted to her mother in the kitchen. The woman rushed over, eyes widening. "Lord have mercy, that's her." The girl beamed. "She used to be my teacher, always told us to stand tall, never bow to hate. And look at her now, she's fighting still." The mother's eyes "Then, we fight for her." She grabbed her keys. "Church needs to know. Whole neighborhood's gotta stand up." By afternoon, local news anchors scrambled to catch up. Tonight's top story: video footage surfaces of a 70-year-old Black woman defending herself against two men in a violent parking lot confrontation. The woman, identified as retired schoolteacher Evelyn Carter, is currently in police custody. Protesters are already gathering outside the precinct. Cameras panned to crowds swelling on the steps. Signs painted in bold letters, "We saw the video. Justice for Evelyn. Stop the lies." Chants rose, echoing through the city. "Let her go. Let her go." Inside the cell, muffled noise seeped through the walls. Evelyn tilted her head, listening. The young man grinned. "That sound, that's for you." Evelyn's chest tightened. She pressed her palm against her heart, whispering almost to herself. They came. The homeless woman's humming turned louder, steadier, almost like a hymn. In the chief's office, panic simmered beneath polished wood and stiff uniforms. The mayor's voice crackled over speakerphone. "You've got hundreds outside your building chanting her name, reporters circling like vultures, and a viral video painting your officers as complicit. Handle this now." The chief rubbed his temples. "We'll control the narrative. Say it's under investigation." But Harris muttered, "Doesn't matter what we say. People don't trust us. They trust the video." Silence fell heavy in the room. For once, the truth was too loud to bury. That evening, as sunset bathed the city in fiery hues, the crowd outside doubled, then tripled. Strangers brought bottled water, folding chairs, megaphones. Evelyn's former students, now grown, some with children of their own, showed up, holding signs with her name. Pastors, activists, neighbors, all demanding the same thing: free Evelyn Carter. Back in the cell, an officer arrived with keys in hand. Evelyn rose slowly, her spine straight, despite fatigue. He unlocked the door, voice clipped. "You've got visitors." Evelyn followed him, the young man calling after her, "We'll see you out there, Grandma." She turned back with a steady nod. "We'll all see the light." Sooner or later, the visitation room buzzed with reporters on the other side of the glass, cameras flashing, but one face broke through the glare. Pastor Green, tall, broad-shouldered, with kind eyes that Evelyn had known for decades. "Miss Carter," he said through the phone receiver, voice low but firm, "the whole city's with you. They saw what they did. They saw how you stood. You're not alone anymore." Evelyn's throat tightened, but her voice did not waver. "Then we must hold them accountable. Not just for me, for all of us." Pastor Green nodded solemnly. "And we will." "The chains are cracking, Evelyn. This time, the world is watching." Outside, chants swelled louder than ever, echoing into the night sky. And for the first time since her arrest, Evelyn Carter felt the weight on her chest ease, not because justice had been won, but because truth had finally broken free of its cage. Night bled into morning outside the precinct, but the crowd never thinned. Drums pounded, chants carried, and handmade signs rose like flames against the dark sky. Reporters camped on sidewalks, microphones pointed toward the doors, waiting for any statement. Inside, the air was thick with panic and calculation. The blue wall had cracked, and smoke poured through the fractures. Detective Harris slammed a folder on the desk. This is a circus. Every time I check my phone, there's another million views on that damn video. His partner whispered, "You hear the mayor? He's getting calls from the governor now. Too hot to bury." The chief's face hardened. "Then we bury it deeper." But even as he spoke, the walls groaned. Evelyn sat at a metal table in the interrogation room, hands folded, expression calm as still water. Two officers lingered, recording devices blinking red. "Mrs. Carter," one began. His tone rehearsed. "Would you like to make a statement?" Evelyn looked up, eyes steady. "You don't want my statement. You want my silence." The officer shifted uncomfortably. "Ma'am," she leaned forward, her voice like steel, "but silence is what built these walls, and silence is what's burning them down." At that moment, her attorney arrived, a wiry black woman named Aisha, young but sharp-eyed, carrying a folder thick with papers. She slid into the chair beside Evelyn. "Don't say another word without me present," Aisha instructed, glaring at the officers. "And don't think for a second we don't know what you're trying to pull." Evelyn smiled faintly. "I trust you." In another office, Harris barked at a junior officer. "Where's the extended footage? The one from the precinct lot cameras. Cut out the sound. Trim the angles. We control the leaks." The junior officer hesitated. "Sir, the raw files. They've already been uploaded by someone. Whole 30 minutes. Full context." Harris froze. "Who?" The young officer swallowed. "Don't know." Anonymous drop. "But it's everywhere now. Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, the works." Harris's face drained. That footage showed the slurs, the spit, the shove every second of abuse. Before Evelyn defended herself, there was no spinning it now. Crowds outside erupted louder as the full video hit the internet. Clips of the men sneering, calling Evelyn animal and old monkey, looped across screens. Commentators raged, #sword. And then a new chant rose from the protesters. "Release the tape. Release the truth." Inside her cell, Evelyn heard the thunder of voices. She turned to the young man who shared the bench with her. "They know now," he whispered. Evelyn nodded. "Truth is fire. You can't smother it forever." The homeless woman rocked and hummed louder, tears streaking her weathered cheeks. That afternoon, Pastor Green stood on the courthouse steps, cameras crowding him. His booming voice carried through the microphones. They called her criminal, but the only crime was against her dignity. The only violence was theirs. Evelyn Carter is not a villain, she is a mirror. And what you see in that mirror is the rot of a system built on silence. The crowd roared, fists lifted high. Inside, the mayor called again, voice like thunder through the speakerphone. "Chief, listen to me carefully. You are not just dealing with a local scandal anymore. You've got a powder keg of race, power, and justice exploding under your feet. Either you release her, or you drag this entire city down with you." The chief's jaw clenched. "You think giving them what they want will calm them?" The mayor shot back. "No, but denying them will burn us all." That evening, Evelyn sat with Aisha across the metal table. "They're unraveling," Aisha said, flipping through her notes. "The footage is out. Witnesses are coming forward. Neighbors, bystanders, they're all telling the same story." Evelyn's hands trembled slightly, but her eyes glowed with quiet strength. "Then maybe this time, they can't bury the ashes." Aisha looked at her, puzzled. "Ashes?" Evelyn's voice softened, drifting like a hymn. "My daddy used to say, you can burn truth down to ash, but ashes carry seeds. They rise, they spread, and one day they bloom again." Aisha swallowed, holding her gaze. "Then we'll make sure those seeds grow, later." As midnight crept over the city, Evelyn was escorted once more through dim halls. Reporters' voices echoed faintly outside, muffled by walls not built to last. An officer leading her muttered, "You've caused a mess, lady. The biggest I've ever seen." Evelyn didn't answer. She didn't need to, because the mess was not hers. The mess had always been theirs. She had simply forced the world to see it. In the crowd outside, a teenager lifted a candle, its flame trembling against the night wind. One by one, others followed, until the steps glowed with hundreds of lights, and above the chants, above the anger, rose a softer sound, voices joining in a song older than their pain, older than the walls that sought to silence them. "We shall overcome." Inside her cell, Evelyn closed her eyes, hearing it faintly through the concrete. Her lips moved with the words, silent but strong. The ashes were glowing now. The fire was spreading. And nothing, not lies, not walls, not silence, could stop it from burning the truth into light. The city had become a pressure cooker. Every news cycle carried Evelyn's name, Every headline screamed injustice. Satellite vans lined the streets, cameras flashing like lightning against the courthouse steps. Protesters filled every corner, chanting until their voices turned raw. And inside the precinct, the blue wall trembled. Detective Harris stormed into the chief's office, slamming the door shut. "We can't hold her anymore. The footage people saw everything. If we keep this up, it's not just protests we're facing, it's riots." The chief glared at him. "You think I don't know that? But if we let her go, we admit fault. And that," he jabbed a finger on the desk, "that opens the floodgates." Harris leaned closer, voice low but taut with panic. "The floodgates are already open, sir. The union can't protect us from this." In the corner, a younger officer really shifted uneasily. For days, he had listened to the whispers, the cover-ups, the orders to control the story. But now, the truth sat heavy in his chest. He cleared his throat. "Chief, with respect, people don't believe us anymore. They believed the video." The chief's eyes narrowed. "You watch yourself, Riley." But Harris sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "He's right. The shield only works when the public trusts it. Right now, they don't." That afternoon, in the courtroom, packed with cameras, Evelyn was led in, wearing a plain beige jumpsuit. Her head was high, shoulders square, her calm presence a quiet defiance. Gasps rippled through the crowd as she entered. Supporters rose to their feet, clapping, chanting her name until the judge banged his gavel. The prosecutor began stiffly. "Your Honor, the defendant assaulted 2 men in a public parking lot. She must be held accountable." But Aisha shot up, fire in her voice. "Assault. We all saw the video. What we saw was 2 men assaulting an elderly black woman, spitting slurs, shoving her. And what did she do? She defended herself. She survived." The gallery erupted in applause, drowned only by the judge's gavel. During recess, Harris lingered in the hall, reporters closing in. "Detective Harris, did your department falsify the initial report? Why was Mrs. Carter held without bond? Are you protecting racist attackers while criminalizing their victim?" Harris's jaw tightened, sweat beading at his temple. He shoved past them, muttering, "No comment." But the cracks widened by evening. The dam broke. An anonymous leak dropped internal emails. Officers joking about Evelyn's arrest, mocking her age, calling her the ninja grandma. Worse, drafts of falsified reports surfaced written to frame her as the aggressor. Scrubbed of racial slurs and abuse, the internet exploded. Hashtags shifted again. Hashtag release the emails. Hashtag blue wall collapse. Hashtag justice for Evelyn. CNN, BBC, and Al Jazeera picked it up. This wasn't just local anymore, it was global. At the precinct, officers gathered in tight circles, voices hushed. Riley stared at his phone, watching the leaked emails scroll across his feed. He whispered, "It's over." His partner nodded grimly. "Blue wall ain't a wall anymore, just rubble." In her cell, Evelyn was awakened by the sound of cheers outside, louder, stronger, more furious than before. The young man grinned. Something big just dropped. They caught the cops red-handed. Evelyn inhaled deeply, whispering, "Truth has a way of climbing out of its grave." That night, the chief faced the press. Cameras clicked, microphones thrust forward. His face was stone, but his voice cracked under the weight. We will be conducting a full internal review. Effective immediately, Mrs. Carter is released on her own recognizance." The crowd erupted. Reporters shouted over one another. Protesters screamed with joy. Chants of "Evelyn, Evelyn," rolled like thunder down the street. When Evelyn finally walked out of the precinct doors, the night air hit her face like a blessing. Flashbulbs blinded her, chants shook her bones, and strangers wept openly. She raised her hand, not in triumph but in quiet acknowledgement. "Miss Carter, Miss Carter." Reporters shouted, "Do you have anything to say?" She paused, voice steady, words slicing through the noise. "I defended myself, but this is bigger than me. This is about every voice that was silenced, every truth that was buried. They can tear down walls, but they cannot silence the fire. Justice will not come from lies. Justice will come because we demand it." The crowd roared, their cheers echoing against the courthouse walls like the sound of something breaking apart forever. Back inside, Harris sat alone in the dark, TV light flickering across his face. News anchors dissected every word, every leak, every broken lie. His phone buzzed with messages: union reps, angry colleagues, furious superiors. For the first time in his career, he felt the wall behind him crumble, leaving him exposed. "Damn it," he muttered, burying his face in his hands. The blue wall had collapsed, and the ashes were choking everyone inside. Evelyn returned home that night, escorted by Pastor Green and Aisha. Neighbors lined the street, clapping, holding candles, singing softly. She paused on her porch, tears glistening in her eyes. "You all stood," she whispered, "and because you stood, truth stands with us now." The crowd answered with one voice, "We're not done yet." And Evelyn knew they were right, because this was only the beginning. The morning after Evelyn's release, the city felt different. Streets still buzzed with protest chants, but now there was something else, hope, fierce and stubborn, rippling like sunlight after storm clouds. Newspapers splashed her face across the front page. Karate grandmother's shatters, blue wall, truth in motion, Evelyn Carter's fight. Cable news panels dissected the case endlessly. Some praised her courage, others twisted themselves into knots defending the attackers. But the evidence, the slurs, the shove, the falsified reports, was undeniable. For once, the truth wasn't buried. It was everywhere. Evelyn sat at her kitchen table, sipping tea, hands still trembling from exhaustion. Pastor Green sat across from her, voice low but steady. "You lit a fire, Evelyn. Now we have to decide what to do with it." Evelyn chuckled softly. "I'm 70 years old, Pastor. Fires tire me out." He leaned forward. "And yet you've burned brighter than all of us." Her smile faded. "This isn't about me. It's about the chains we've carried me. You, that young man in the cell, the woman who hummed her pain. If they're breaking, we can't stop swinging." Pastor Green nodded. "Then we swing." Across town, the two men who had attacked her faced cameras of their own, no longer smirking, no longer bold, one with a sling on his arm, the other with a bruised jaw. They were flanked by lawyers who spoke in practiced tones. "My clients deeply regret the misunderstanding." Reporters shouted over him. "Misunderstanding? You were caught on video calling her racial slurs. Do you deny spitting on her? Are you aware both of you are facing hate crime charges?" Their faces drained, their voices cracked. Whatever power they thought they had was gone. At the precinct, investigations tore through files and hard drives. Harris sat across from internal affairs, jaw tight, eyes dark. "You falsified a report," the investigator pressed. "You withheld evidence," Harris spat. "That's how it's always been done. We protect our own." The investigator leaned forward, voice cold. "Not anymore." For the first time in years, Harris realized the shield that once guarded him was nothing but shards at his feet. Meanwhile, Evelyn's name continued to ripple outward. Former students sent letters, videos, messages. "You taught me to fight with words, Miss Carter. Thank you for showing me we're never too old to stand tall. You told us silence is a chain. You broke it for all of us. Because of you, my daughter knows strength has no age." Each message was a link falling away, chains breaking one by one. That evening, Evelyn stood at the pulpit of her old church. The sanctuary overflowed. Neighbors, activists, reporters crammed into pews, candles flickering in every hand. She looked out at them, her heart swelling. "I never asked for this spotlight," she began, her voice carried, soft but unshakable. "But maybe the spotlight found me because it needed to show something. Not my fists, not my belt, but the truth we've been carrying." She paused, eyes sweeping the crowd. "They called me criminal, they called me violent, but what they really feared was that I would not bow, that I would not be silent. And tonight, I tell you this, the chains are breaking. But chains do not break on their own. They break because we pull together." The crowd erupted, voices thundering through the rafters. Outside, chants rose again, but this time, they weren't only demanding, they were declaring, "Chains broken, truth spoken, chains broken, truth spoken." The sound rolled across the city like a tide. Later, as the night deepened, Evelyn sat quietly on her porch, the stars above clear and bright. Aisha joined her, placing a folder on the table. "Charges against you have been dropped," she said with a smile, "and the DA's office is filing against the Minan, against the officers who doctored the reports." Evelyn exhaled, relief mixing with sorrow. "Justice," she murmured. "Strange word, isn't it? Never feels as heavy as the pain that birthed it." Aisha leaned back, gazing at the stars. "Maybe not, but it's a start." From her porch, Evelyn could still faintly hear the chants echoing down the block. She thought of the young man in the cell, the woman who hummed, the countless voices silenced before her. She closed her eyes, whispering, "This is for you." The night breeze carried the sound of breaking chains, chains unseen but felt, chains cracking open to let the light pour through. Weeks passed, But the echoes of Evelyn's fight did not fade. The protests simmered into organized marches, petitions, and vigils. Churches and community centers overflowed with voices demanding systemic change. Evelyn's name had become more than a headline. It was a rallying cry. And the walls that once seemed unshakable now showed cracks too deep to mend. In the courthouse, cameras flashed as the trial began, not Evelyn's, but the men who had attacked her. Alongside officers accused of covering it up, reporters swarmed the steps, microphones shoved toward lawyers. Inside, the air pulsed with tension. The prosecutor stood tall, voice ringing. Today, we are not just trying to mend for hate crimes. We are holding accountable a system that thought it could silence truth with lies. We are proving that even walls made of silence and corruption cannot withstand the fire of justice. Evelyn sat in the gallery, Aisha by her side, Pastor Green a steady presence. Her heart pounded, not from fear but from the weight of history pressing down, reminding her she was not just Evelyn Carter, karate teacher and grandmother. She was every name, every face that had been silenced before her. The defense tried to paint the attackers as victims, men provoked by a sudden outburst. But the jury saw the video. They heard the slurs. They read the leaked emails where officers mocked her pain. The truth was undeniable. After days of testimony, the verdict came swift. Guilty. Gasps filled the courtroom, followed by cheers. The men bowed their heads, chains rattling at their wrists. For once, the chains were theirs, not Evelyn's. And when the officer's verdict followed discipline, termination, charges of falsification, an even louder cheer shook the room. The blue wall had not just cracked, it had fallen. Reporters surged toward Evelyn as she stepped outside the courthouse. Mrs. Carter, do you feel justice has been served? What message do you have for the world today? Do you regret fighting back? Evelyn raised her hand, and the crowd stilled. I don't rejoice in their punishment, she said, voice clear and steady. I rejoice that the truth has been seen. I rejoice that silence did not win. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about light breaking into darkness. And today, we saw light. The crowd erupted into applause, some chanting her name, others weeping openly. Later that evening, Evelyn walked home slowly, her cane tapping softly against the sidewalk. Neighbors lined the street, clapping, cheering, some offering flowers. Children waved hand-painted signs. Thank you, Miss Carter. She smiled gently, her heart swelling with pride but also with humility. She had not asked for this fight, but she had carried it because it was hers to carry. On her porch, she paused, looking out at the sea of faces. This victory is not mine alone, she said, her voice carrying into the night. It belongs to every voice that refused to stay silent. It belongs to the chains that cracked, the fire that spread, the truth that refused to stay buried. And it belongs to the children because one day, they must walk free of these chains altogether. The crowd answered with a roar, a single chant rising like thunder. Chains broken, truth spoken. In the days that followed, Evelyn's story spread far beyond her city. News outlets replayed the footage, documentaries were pitched, and social media made her a global symbol. But Evelyn didn't care for fame. She returned to her routine, stay on the porch, visits to the dojo, afternoons at the church. Yet, everywhere she went, people stopped her, thanking her, hugging her, telling her she gave them courage. One afternoon, the young man from her cell found her at the church. His eye had healed, his smile brighter than before. You were right, he told her. Chains don't break on their own, but they're breaking now, and I want to help. Keep pulling. Evelyn clasped his hand. Then keep standing tall. That's how we all win. Meanwhile, Detective Harris sat alone in a quiet bar, nursing a glass of whiskey. His career in ruins, his shield stripped away. He stared blankly at the muted TV replaying Evelyn's story. The bartender muttered, "That woman's tougher than all of you put together." Harris didn't argue. He just lowered his head, haunted by the knowledge that the wall he once trusted had collapsed in. He had been buried under its rubble. Poetic justice. One evening, Evelyn visited the graves of her parents. She laid a single flower down, kneeling slowly. You told me, Daddy, never let them bow me, she whispered. I didn't. And today, they bowed instead. A tear slid down her cheek, but her lips curved into a smile. She rose, her back straight, her spirit unbroken. Weeks later, the city held a march in her honor. Tens of thousands filled the streets, young and old, black and white, marching together. At the front, Evelyn walked slowly, flanked by children carrying a banner. Truth is fire. Chains can break, The chant rolled down the avenue, shaking glass in windows, echoing into the heart of the city. Chains broken, truth spoken, chains broken, truth spoken. And Evelyn Carter, 70 years old, retired teacher, grandmother, and karate black belt, walked tall at the center of it all. Not a victim, not just a survivor, but a flame that lit the world